Please welcome Pilar Manchon, Senior Director of Research Strategy for Google AI, and Ariana Talai, VP Infrastructure Operations for Major League Baseball. They will lead us in our next session, Lessons from Moneyball, Leveraging Data for Business Decisions.
Well, hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure and an honor for me to be here today sharing the screen with Ariana and Alex. Hi, how are you? At Google, the importance of data is built into our mission statement, taking the world's information and making it universally useful and accessible. But in today's age, every business needs to harness the power of data to propel their organization. And even in America's favorite pastime, baseball, that's the case. So I'm so excited to have Ariana and Alex here to chat about how being data-driven has kept Google in the forefront of innovation and operational success, the role that data has played in the MLB's growth, and how these lessons could be translated into other industries. So before we start, how about you tell us a little bit about yourselves? How about we start with you, Alex?
How's it going? Data's gotten into baseball these last few years. And it's hit us by a storm, honestly. Coming up through the minor leagues from not having that much data to being able to, in the big leagues, you get hit with a lot of information. And for us, being able to every game or before a series, being able to receive all that information to prepare ourselves for our next appearances or our next games, it's been huge for us. It's been a big part of our next culture.
Wonderful. How about you, Ariana?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana. I'm Vice President of Infrastructure Operations for Major League Baseball. And I manage several groups that are responsible for the integration of our technology systems within the ballparks and data center. I also manage the operations groups that are responsible for the broadcast streaming and replay platforms. So as Alex just said, I've participated in implementing some of these technologies that have actually been useful for the players and video coaching, for example.
Wonderful. So today, most of us cannot conceive the idea of making any decision that's not data-driven. We're leveraging massive amounts of data and algorithms to support our strategies, but the implementation of that technology or those data models is not easy. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions to Ariana, and I'll also chime in with some information about other Google's businesses. So Ariana, how does your team help identify areas of priority for technology decisions? What are really first couple of steps identifying the projects that are going to benefit the most from that?
Sure. I think first and foremost, we need to clearly define and understand who our end user is or customer. And that could be the fan, or it could be the clubs, or in Alex's case, it could be the players. We're heavy on the broadcast and technology implementation side. So we really need to determine, after we've established who our customer is or the end user, we have to determine how to implement these platforms and programs from an infrastructure perspective. And we need to be able to scale that out. So when we standardize, we have to standardize whether that's across 30 major league facilities or whether that's on the minor league level. It has to be standardized across the board. We have to figure out how we can incorporate this into our existing environment. And I think once we've had that defined, we're able to either engage with the providers in that space or build it out ourselves.
Wonderful. Actually, it's funny to see how the parallelisms between the world of sports and the rest of Google works. Like, for instance, in our teams in research, I work for research for Google AI. We always look for the headroom, for where the user experience can be better, where the algorithm can be a little faster, where we can deliver more, where we can learn more to do better, to provide a better service, right? So can you tell us a little bit about evaluating the right kind of technology solutions of partners, and what systems do you need to ensure are in place for you to make the information useful?
Sure. We have to really figure out what we're trying to accomplish and solve for. Is this going to be a product or a service that's going to enhance the fan experience, or are we going to be expanding upon an already existing technology feature or system within the ballpark? During our evaluation process, especially when we're determining hardware needs, there needs to be a solid support mechanism in place for whoever that vendor is. And if it's not the vendor, if it's us actually building the system out, we still need to have that in place. There has to be definitely a certain level of monitoring tools and dashboards because we need to be able to collect that data. And of course, we have to have a reliable network backbone. Our networking team is fantastic. We then simulate the actual environment in which we're using the particular solution. We've actually built out a test facility, which is a near replica of a major league park. So that allows us to do testing, whether that's in the off season or just happening in the background while we're playing ball.
That's super interesting. So how about getting people on board? Because sometimes these things, bring change and changing behaviors, and that's not easy sometimes. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult at the major league level because once we've standardized something and it's working and it's a well-oiled machine, people don't want to change. They just want to stick with it because it works. And it's been difficult at times, but MLB has done a really good job of being transparent with the owners and the clubs. One example that comes to mind is when we implemented an entirely new player ball tracking system back in 2019. We migrated over to that system from a previous data collection platform mid-season. So this happened, I think it was like June or July by the time we finished in 2019. So we allowed the systems just to give the clubs that comfort level of just not completely cutting over to this new system. We allowed the systems to run in parallel until a full migration could be made, which was supposed to be in 2020. Pandemic hit, we didn't play baseball for a few months. We kicked it off in July, and that was very nerve-wracking for both the clubs and us because we hadn't had a full season of testing this out. But it has proven its value, it's precise, and I think this entire year has shown that.
Wonderful. It's very similar to what happens in else. I mean, the rate at which technology evolves in every space is amazing. In my space, in particular, I work in AI and conversational AI of all things. The rate at which the technology has been evolving and changing and improving and delivering on new experiences has been mind-boggling in the last decade, let alone in the last 2 years, right? So I imagine it's similar in your area of expertise as well, because we have to adapt to where the business opportunity is and make sure that we have solid solutions that will last long enough and will be able to be updated as the technology moves forward. So, you told us a little bit about the solutions that you have implemented, some of the challenges that you came across and so on. So, how do you track, iterate, and improve systems? And what's the difference between working anywhere else and implementing at the MLB levels versus other clubs?
Sure. So we're constantly improving our ballpark systems. We ingest large quantities of data and information through various monitoring systems and dashboards. We're keeping track of everything from temperature within local server rooms to failures in hardware or any issues with our network. The difference between implementing this on a major league level versus the individual clubs is that we have to standardize everything across the board. It has to be the same. It has to be equal across all of the parts. Whether we're trying that in the minors or we're trying it at the major league level, it has to be the same. When it comes to the clubs and them implementing their own technologies, we don't have direct oversight into that. Sometimes they come to us and they ask us for recommendations or some insight, but for the most part, we don't have direct control. It's a lot easier when we have to implement something that's been standardized by or mandated by the league, because then we have full visibility and we can maintain these systems.
That's also very interesting. So now I was in Google all my life. I was actually in the startup world before I was Google. And as the CEO of my own company, one of the challenges that we had, especially with larger organizations, was adapting to the way they had to do things. And you come with a new technology that's different, that's innovative, that's leading edge, and how that literally changes or has to change to adapt, and then finding that middle ground is actually super interesting. I want to switch a little bit to Alex now. So Alex, as a player, what kind of data or information are you looking for to inform your performance or training? And how do you make sure that is used in the right way with your coaching staff and how it's collected and so on?
Well, last season, given us with COVID and everything that happened in 2020, I was able to buy myself a Rapsoto, and on that we collect all types of data, which is like velocity, the spin rate, the access, and all those different kind of things, and that we use that basically for like pitch selection and pitch development. So for me, it was able to help me generate a slider. It was a pitch I earlier on in my career I didn't really throw, and given what the information we received from Rapsoto, it was just it was something that more that than an eye can see. It's something, it gives you a little more detail, and being able to send all that information through the Rapsoto app or to my coaching staff as well is something that's super super efficient, and that's one thing that I used last year for me was the Rapsoto to help my pitch selection.
Great. So, it's not new that the data-driven performance optimization is in the sports, but baseball has always been in the forefront. So, as a pitcher and as a world-class athlete and even a coach, when did you decide that using data could really, really improve your game?
When you sit down and look at it, and you look at all the great guys, they all have one thing in common, and that's looking to get better. And lately in our livelihoods as childs growing up in this world, technology has only increased, and that to me is some that's eye opening. And I've always been interested in all the information that we've been given from the organization, and being able to apply that into my everyday play is something that I look to accomplish.
So, Ariana, how about the way technology is used in the game? Can you share a couple of new ways technology has changed the way fans experience it?
Yeah, and I think that's the key word, the actual experience. It's created a full immersive experience when you go to the ballpark. It's not about just watching, the 9 innings. It's from the moment you enter, when you're using mobile ticketing, not having to have, paper tickets, to getting inside the ballpark and having a robust Wi-Fi system. Fans want to be connected all the time. They want to be able to upload content, check stats on their favorite players, post to social media, even check their email. They need to be connected all the time. And we have provided them with this robust Wi-Fi system within the ballparks to be able to do that. We're also looking at ways to speed up the game. In the past few years, we've implemented technologies to do that. One of the things we implemented were the timing clocks to help us monitor inning breaks and pitching changes and mound visits to help, reduce the time of the game. So it's areas like that.
How about reaching new fan bases or new countries or building new facilities?
Yeah, so data is showing us where there is fan interest. One example of what we've been working on the past few months is the Dominican Winter League and bringing that to a wider audience. So this year we're offering that content on our MLB.TV product, to see how well it does. There is a market for that. There is a fan base, and our marketing teams have developed, multiple strategies to expand viewerships, not only domestically but internationally. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing jewel events or games in London, and you have the World Baseball Classic coming up. So it's really expanding out to these international markets and seeing where there's a fan base.
So actually, you just mentioned the pandemic that has been a big hit for everybody. How have you kept the fans engaged? How have you been reaching to the younger crowds through the pandemic?
I think last year was definitely a challenge. To be perfectly honest, once we knew we were going to play baseball again, it was let's just get this out and let's do this any way we can. And there were so many limitations. There were no vaccines. There was a testing protocol. So I think last year it was let's just get this out. And this year it was more of focusing on engaging the fans, keeping the ones that we had while also expanding our fans. And I think that that's a top priority for MLB. And we've been able to have some of those jewel events this year, the All-Star game, and even the events that are carried out during that week of All-Star week. Fans have the opportunity to not just experience the game and the home run derby, but there's the celebrity softball game, the concerts, the red carpet shows. Field of Dreams was a tremendous success. We replicated the field from the movie, and the numbers were great. I think we're also trying to target social media. I mean, it's, the younger audience just, again, wants to stay connected and view content on a social platform. So if we can tap into that, I think that that's a way where we can continue to expand, to a younger demographic.
That is wonderful. The way the sports industry or Google uses data and AI can also be extrapolated to many other industries, actually impacting the innovation in ways that we would have never expected. Actually, funny things come out of data that you never knew about, right? So, Alex, how has the MLB's data-driven model impacted the entire sport of baseball, from the minor leagues to the youth programs, in your opinion?
I think it's impacted just with the way guys have been working out, have been taking their performance training and all that stuff. All these kids now, as younger kids, they're interested in the exit velocity. They're interested in the how far the ball are traveling, and that's something that we want our youth to come with, is the knowledge on all this technology and all that stuff. I think it just it betters the talent on the field and the preparation to get everybody to their best of ability.
Absolutely. I can share some examples about, elsewhere other than sports. Like I said before, I work in the world of conversational AI. And there have been very many cases where data, makes you realize that the world doesn't work exactly in the way that you expected it. Like I remember some of the early discoveries, for instance, like I used to work in a virtual assistant kind of startup that we started. And at the very beginning, we were very focused on just delivering on the things that were important to the business, like doing the transactions or whatever services we were providing. And as we collected data, we realized that people were chatting with our virtual agents in ways that we didn't anticipate. Might sound normal now that you have, the Google Assistant and you have Alexa and you have other entities that you chat with, but at the time, this was completely new. So the fact that people wanted to ask questions to these chatbots or virtual assistants about what their favorite color was, or what was their favorite movie, or things like that, were so alien to us at the time. Why would you want to have an AI tell you anything about that, right? I'm actually, I actually feel for you in many ways, because I'm not very much into sports. I'm Spanish. I'm from the south of Spain. There's not a lot of baseball going on in there. But my sister is an athlete. She's an Olympian athlete in kayak. And I've actually seen how she's been recording. I mean, her coach and her team have been recording her and collecting data to perfect her style and her technique, and how to, shave a few tenths of a second, which in the kind of races that she does, it means whether it's a gold medal or a silver medal, right? So I'm amazed on how back to 2 decades ago when she started, this was so analogic. Like you had to record, you had to watch the video, you had to analyze, and now you have all these tools that actually analyze and tell you the physics behind every single move that you make, and how you can actually put more power in when you're rowing, or how you can make it faster, or how a lighter push is better if you do it faster than a bigger one that is heavier, right? So all this intrinsic analysis of the data to help you excel in your sport is amazing. And actually in Google, we do a lot of things about that. Like for instance, think about Google Maps and how you want to have the information that is current, that is live, that helps you drive to places like either Google Maps or Waze, or how all this data and information has been used through the pandemic to help us navigate and get better, right? To help us find the right places, or help us find where to find vaccinations, or how to wear vaccinations were available, for instance. A number of different things that data has helped us all throughout in so many different ways with unexpected technologies. But anyway, I like to ramble along all these for obvious reasons. the usage of data and AI technology has to be handled with extreme care for obvious reasons, because it's all very sensitive, right? And at Google, we take that responsibility very, very seriously. I'm proud to say that I'm involved in some of those conversations, and we take it to the utmost seriousness. So making security and ethical use a top priority is our priority as well. We need our customers, consumers, and fans to trust that we're stewards of the information just as much as they trust the results and products. So, Alex, what are your thoughts around your performance evaluation being so closely tied to data versus qualitative or coaches' feedback?
I think there's a sweet spot in the middle there. I think, the data, it gives you an advantage for preparation, and it gives you an advantage to kind of look at other hitters, or look at your preparation to help yourself as much as possible for the situation. Now, I still believe you need the coaching staff, and you need the human element there to help support and give you what you're looking for. I think it's hard just to look at data and be able to transfer it. I think it's like I said, it's a sweet mix in between both, with the coach and the data driven stuff.
Absolutely. So, at Google, like I said before, we take data privacy and ethical AI very seriously. As a matter of fact, it might not be a very well-known fact, but we were one of the pioneering companies that have internal AIs, what to do and what not to do, guidance that we take to heart. And we have full processes and full teams that is just dedicated to make sure that any development in the world of AI is responsible and following our ethical guidelines and, of course, governance and regulation. But we have processes in place that take that to the next level. Not only have we been pioneering in making sure that we had the right guidelines, but also we have teams that make sure that every single development or data usage that could potentially be used even for something else is analyzed and scrutinized and extrapolated to make sure that we do the right thing for that. I was very impressed when I came onto Google and I saw what we have in place and how some of the cases, for instance, one of the better known ones has to do with our speech synthesis. Like I said before, I work in conversational AI, and one of the cases that we have is about synthetic voices. I'm sure you've seen videos and you've seen the technology, how we can generate like amazing synthetic voices that sound like real people, sound like real humans, to the point that sometimes people cannot realize that they're talking to a machine, or that the voice is actually a fake, it's a synthetic voice, right? So once we came through that breakthrough, and the quality of the voice was such that it was easy to be confused with a human being. We went through a whole process analyzing, okay, what do we do with this? What do we authorize the use of this for? Do we publish the technology? It went through a whole bunch of councils and committees of senior people with different backgrounds to basically see what the right thing was to, not only for Google, but for society in general. And it was then decided that because this technology could be used for things that we were not able to control beyond the boundaries of Google, we were going to publish the research and we were going to use the technology under control ways, but we were not going to release that technology to the open public for people to potentially, use it in undesirable ways. And that has been something that amazes me, because we invest so much in research to get the best of the best. And then once you get there, sometimes you realize, oh well, even though I had this intended use for the technology, other people can use it for something else. And we still need to be very careful and very mindful. So I'm proud to say that we have a full team, actually hundreds of people, responsible AI, that not only keep us honest, but actually make sure that we follow all these processes and so on. And we even consult with the different levels of government in different countries and different organizations to make sure that there is, that we keep up with the way they're thinking, that we educate them in terms of what's coming next so that they can anticipate, and that we understand where regulation is going to make sure that we meet all those requirements. So, beyond all this, sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes building models and algorithms and implementing the right solution. It's just that doesn't work. And we created tools and to interpret big data, and how we integrate and make decisions, it just doesn't go the way we want it. So, Alex, has there been a moment where data has led you to making the wrong decision? How do you layer in subject matter expertise and experience into that?
I think that's where the coaching comes in. You know, data can help you to a point to you so you can compare your pitches, or you can compare whatever data you're receiving, you can compare it to guys who are doing the same thing as you. So for instance, I could compare my fastball to another guy in the league, and I could, you know, and with the data, I could sit here and say, yes, my fastball might play the same way as his fastball does, but the game might actually dictate something else. And I think that's where, like I said before, the coaching staff comes in. I mean, there are times where data has not been correct, but I think more times than not, the data usually supports the results.
Is there any particular point in time where you have like some checks and balances in place to make sure that you don't just take it for granted that the data is going to be right? It's like, is there any point where you see, oh, this might not be right, I need to triple check this?
There are times where you see it with the. It depends also how you set up the machines and stuff like that. But you know, more times than not, like I said, the data is correct, and you know, I believe in it. I think it's super beneficial. I think the youth would benefit from it, from looking into it, and all the data, you know, that comes with the game nowadays. And it's been fun to be able to record stuff that, you know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago I wasn't able to look at, and nowadays I'm able to look at it in a whole different type of way.
Well, Ariana, how about on the MLB side? Have you had to walk back implementation of a new process or technology rollout at some point?
Yeah, I think, you know, we try to be very methodical about how we approach, you know, implementing a new technology into Major League Baseball. And we have the opportunity to test that out, not only at the facility that I had previously mentioned, but also in the minor leagues. A lot of what we do, we're testing out in the minor leagues, whether that be a year, 3 years, and then it's introduced in the Major League scale. So we have had to walk back, but it's usually been because we're not ready to scale it out on a major league level, whether it's because it's cost prohibitive, or maybe we haven't formalized an agreement with the Players Association. So it's usually on not that level. It's not typically because the technology is faulty or it's not working, because like I said, we've already proven out the concept well ahead of time before we even introduce it to the major leagues. So, I mean, one example that that just comes to mind are the timing clock that we use on the minor league side. I had mentioned that we have that at the major league facilities, but that's more for mound visits, breaks between innings. On the minor league side, we're actually using additional clocks to manage pitches, the timing of the pitches. That has not been introduced on a major league scale as of yet. But a few years ago, we had talked about it, discussed it, started going through the motions. But then we thought, you know, this is not going to be in the best interest of all parties. So we at that time, so we scaled it back. So that's one example where we pulled back, but not because the technology didn't work, because we weren't there. We weren't at that step yet.
Yeah, it's funny how you'd say that. I can totally relate to the cases that you just reported, because, you know, sometimes we start thinking that AI is kind of magic, right? And most times when there is a major mistake, it's because we, the human parts, are interpreting it the wrong way, because it's about data and you only get you get a picture, right? And then you have to interpret that picture. And sometimes what you get, you're reading in different ways, and you're seeing only a fraction, and it makes you think that you're doing the right thing, but it's just that you don't have enough data, or that you haven't looked at it in the right way. So I completely relate to what you just said. So we went through a lot today, talking about, you know, the usage of data in baseball in more unpredictable ways, and how Google uses data in more predictable ways. So Ariana, in your opinion, what did you think is the biggest takeaway from the discussion for a business leader, a future athlete, or anybody else for that matter?
I think that before you can effectively utilize the data to your advantage, you really need to understand what your goals are. And I had spoken to this earlier on in the presentation. You need to define your goals. You need to understand who your user is, your end customer. And before you can do that, you can't really use the data to your benefit. So as long as you can establish that and align with your business or your organizational goals, then I think that's when the data can be most useful. So to you. So I think it's really understanding and defining what you're trying to achieve.
What do you envision as the next area in AI that AI is going to transform in your world?
There's a lot of areas that we're working on right now. Some information I cannot disclose, but I do think that two areas that we can expand upon. Our venue experience and ticketing teams are working on how to streamline the process for ticketing, mobile entry. How can we speed up that process? You no longer need a paper ticket. How can we get into the stadiums faster so that people can go in there and start purchasing food and buying merchandise and so forth. So that's definitely one area. And another is how we expand upon our current player tracking and video coaching programs. I mean, there's a whole variety of tools that we can use at our disposal. And a lot of that is wearable technology. So, we're starting to invest in that and really see what other tools in that space we can bring to the game of baseball to enhance that program that we currently have.
How about you, Alex? What do you envision to be the next area that AI is going to change, transform, or impact?
I've heard of the robotic umpires. I'm not too sure where that's leading, but I think that's an area where they're trying to make an impact. And as a player, I'm open to all kinds of ideas, whatever's going to help the game in a better way, and going to have a more smoother time on the field. And it's fun. It's fun to inherit all this new technology and all the new stuff. There's some things, like I said, I feel like I'm getting repetitive, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it, but it's coming. It's coming in the near future, and we're all open for it.
That's wonderful. I have to say that working in the field of AI, I'm a little biased about the impact of AI because it's already changing the world. It's already changing society as we are, and it's going to change more. I personally think that there are big fields where AI is going to have an impact, like the world of medicine and health. And that is also related very closely to the world of sports because you have to be healthy to be a good sportsman. So keeping up with your health and making sure that you optimize your health to deliver on your sport is one of the key areas, but also preventing diseases or preventing designing new drugs like it's happened with COVID and so on. But I'm particularly keen on the world of education. I think that the way we're using AI and the way we will continue to use AI and grow and evolve is going to change the world for the better, because I think that there's so much power in education. When you educate somebody, you give them the tools to actually grow and enrich and contribute and be, a proactive, a part of society in ways that if you lack that education are not quite as fruitful. So I'm super excited about the future of AI. But anyhow, we have some questions for the audience, and actually the first one is about it's for you, Alex. It's about how you feel about the MLB making a move towards umpire-less ball and strike zone calls.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't know where it's leading. It's something that I think every player has a different opinion about it. I've thrown on a track band where it has a simulated strike zone, and there's still areas where I think it needs to kind of improve. But I'm sure there's a lot of different technology places that are getting into that, and it's gonna be fun to see. And I think having an umpire behind the plate makes the game a little more fun. But we're like I said, we're all open to new things, and technology is definitely bringing that to us.
Wonderful. So there's another question that I think is addressed to you too, Alex. What is the best source of data that you have ever had during your career?
Um, the source is definitely through like I use my Rapsoto, but what I read the most from that is my spin efficiency, is how efficient am I able to spin the ball, and that just creates different aspects for me in my game and my pitch selection. It creates an illusion on the hitters if I'm able to spin my four seam very high. It creates an illusion to the hitters if I'm able to spin my curveball very high. It gives me more of a drop. So that's to me the spin is definitely one of the things I look at the most.
Great. I think the next question is for Ariana. So how might AI be integrated into the operations on the field or off of MBL in the near future?
I think Alex said it best and hit the nail on the head. We're doing some testing with the automated ball strike system at the minor league level. That's something that we've been working on for the past year or so. So we're interested to see what comes out of that. But also, on field, we can expand upon what we already have with our player tracking system. I did mention wearable technology. How can we further enhance that program by maybe adding sensors or maybe adding some sort of devices to the bag or your cap or your arm? So there's a whole world that we're still trying to explore in that regard to see how we can enhance that for the players. And we're also expanding what options exist for in-game video coaching. So what can we do to help the players be able to have that real-time footage during the game, to further help and enhance their game. So there's a lot there that we're definitely exploring, but Alex is definitely right. We are exploring ABS on a minor league level.
So there's another question for the audience for Alex. So networking and driving your career. How did you use your network to achieve your goals?
I think use my network to achieve my goals through like just with connecting with my fan base, connecting with my coaching staff, connecting with people who want to see what we have to offer. And I think being able to use social media, using all Rapsoto, they have a network on there that you can upload all your information, and if you're an amateur, it would bust out to all the scouts that are in the area. So I think just being able to push it forward and give everybody an opportunity to see what's in store.
So I'm going to ask you, there is another question from the audience I want to ask you in the next minute. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background, because at the very beginning, we didn't get like much of an introduction of who you are. I'm not sure that most people know you well, but I think that your background, how you came to be where you are, and how you became an idol to so many people, it's probably something that the audience would like to hear about.
I'm a Major League Baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals. I signed in 2013 as an amateur in the Dominican Republic as a free agent, and my career it's been a fun ride. Being a part of the organization, a lot of ups and downs. Been able to play in a futures game in 2016. Made the All-Star game this season, so it's been a really fun experience for me and my family. Just been able to enjoy the ride.
And what do you think? What are the best tips you've gotten through your career, and what change has made the biggest impact on getting you to the next level?
I think some of the biggest advice is believe in yourself, and that was from Adam Wainwright, who's also a fellow teammate of mine. And that was, it might sound simple, but it means so much, and it goes much deeper than that. And it was it's about sitting down and self-reflecting and looking at yourself in the mirror and believing in yourself on everything you do. And to be able to do that at the major league level for the amount of time he has been able to do it, it takes a lot of heart and a lot of energy being put into to everything.
So we are in the high tech summit, which is about the Hispanic community. So all of us, or many of us, have Latin roots and Hispanic roots. How does that affect you? How that played in your career? How does your Dominican background make you feel, or how do you feel that being where you are and who you are has an impact on the Hispanic community?
It's it's where my parents were born. They were born in Dominican Republic. They came to the U.S. For a better future. And I actually left high school my senior year, went back to my roots, and went back to Dominican Republic, and was able to experience the culture for a year. And for me, it means a lot. It means a lot. From the first cold water shower I had to take, from not having lights at night, like all those things. It just brings you. It's a lot of humbling experiences that you go through, and being away from my family, from my parents. I think that prepared me for what baseball brings to you. It's a rough of my life. Going throughout. Sorry, lost my headphones. Going throughout the seasons and all that, missing time with my kids and my family. But at the end of the day, it's all something I want to do, and happy to be here and be able to accomplish it.
So now you must get this asked a lot, but you have a big audience, and what would you tell all those youngsters out there that want to be you at some point? What would you encourage them to do?
That it's possible, that everything is possible. Um, I left New Jersey with a decision to, put myself in front of more scouts, and I feel like at the end of the day, it helped me. It helped me get to where I am today. I think having a huge education is extremely important in the business now, and it's always been. And trust your parents, and respect your parents as much as possible, because they really have the best interest for you. And that's for the youth, I think that's the best route, is education, and having a great household with your parents.
We have another question from the audience. Let's see. Is the excessive use of sabermetrics detrimental to baseball? I think that could be for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There is a point where you can sit back and there and think about the actual game of the baseball. The game of baseball where you need to get 27 outs as quick as possible, and your team needs to score more runs than the other. Now, there's a lot being put into that with the front office, with a lot of analytics, a lot of data driven decisions. I think there's times where it can be a little too much, but more times than not, the teams, I believe, that follow those codes are the teams that get the furthest.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask Ariana a question too. So Ariana, in a different way from Alex, you're also a role model. You're a leader. You're someone who's grown into where you are today. What would be your inspirational words for people who want to follow on your steps?
I think it's having a willingness to adapt to change, especially in terms of technology. You have to stay current. If you work in a technology company, you have to stay up to date. You have to stay current, and you have to be willing to adapt to that change and maybe let go of some of old traditional ways. Um, Aside from that, as a leader, I think it's very important to stay true to who you are. I think for many of us on this call, I think I can speak on many people behalf when we can say that we've encountered, issues or things that could have been detrimental to our career, or discrimination in one sense or another. As long as you can stay strong, stay in touch with your values, um, I think that's what you have to prioritize most of all. Obviously, a business is a business, and you have to make sure that you are operating in the best interest of your organization. But you also have to be a people person, and you also have to be a kind person and treat everyone with respect. And I think for many of us as Latinos, that's how we've grown up. We've grown up with very strong values, very strong work ethic, and staying true to those roots. And I think that crosses over into your professional life as well. Never forget who you are and what you've worked towards.
That is a wonderful message. It's like we're in this big familia of high tech. So it reminds me of the sense of community. How important, both of you, first Ariana and then Alex, has the community been for you? Has your sense of, like you said, your Latin roots, a sense of familia, how has that impacted in your growth, both as a person and as a professional?
I'll start off. I think in the past few years, with having these social networks, you're actually getting introduced to more people who are like you, who have very similar experiences, not just professionally but personally. And I think once you start to find these people and have an opportunity to pick their brains and understand what they do, it almost boosts your confidence as well and makes you a better person, like both professionally and personally. And I think that for me, I mean, even just being introduced to the high tech community, this is my second speaking engagement involved, and it's really great to meet all of these new people and hear what they do and hear what they have to say. I think that that's really valuable.
How about you, Alex? How has the sense of community and familia affected you or impacted you or helped you grow?
It's made me the person I am today, the professional I am today. Like I said, I left high school where I grew up at. I played my whole life baseball, and I went back to Dominican Republic. And for me, that's a part of my preparation every year for getting ready for the season. I leave to Dominican Republic, and I trained where I trained. When I signed, and I think that it pushes me. It gives me that feeling of that everybody there, they're working for something else, and they're all happy and they have so little. And you get here and you see so many experiences where people have a lot of things, a lot of and they don't have that love. And to me, that's something I feel from just walking the street of the community out there and where I'm from, and it's all love. And I feel like that's what I've gotten from my community.
That's wonderful. I have to share that I feel the same way. We have the midday high tech community for quite a few years now, and there are other Latin communities here in the Bay Area. I've been in the Bay Area for a little over 8 years right now, and it's wonderful to find your kin. It's wonderful to find a sense of family and the sense of support and the sense of growth, and both in the way that you benefit because you feel closer to your community and your family, but also in ways that help you pay it forward, help you contribute to that sense, help you bring new people in, help you make them feel welcome or make them feel like they can achieve anything and everything. So, at this point, I just want to thank you both for this amazing contribution to the familia, to the community, for sharing your personal and professional experiences and for teaching us about what you do so well. In your case as an athlete, and in Ariana's case as a professional in the sports world as well. Thank you both. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Pilar.
Thank you.